Is CM Punk returning to AEW? We're going to talk about that, but our first news story of the day, the Motor City Machine Guns have re-signed with Impact Wrestling, and this is major news, especially when it's been reported and rumored for a while that WWE and AEW and Ring of Honor and New Japan were all interested in their services. Now, anytime I see rumors on the internet about companies being interested in signing an individual or a tag team, I always take it with a little pinch of salt because realistically, you never know. Sometimes I think those rumors are there to kind of help leverage signings and whatever it may be. But nonetheless, Motor City Machine Guns, one of the greatest tag teams to ever exist. There is a huge list of great tag teams that have existed, but these guys are definitely on that list, especially if you look at the history of TNA and Impact. So when they came back and they reunited together in TNA, or now it's Impact, but when they reunited, it was very clear that these guys had some big plans in the works, and they definitely did some big things. They won the championship belts. They're always going to go down in history as one of TNA or Impact's greatest tag teams. And now the cool thing is, you know, despite the rumors of them going elsewhere, they decided to show their loyalty to Impact. Now, this is one of the biggest things that Impact needs to do. And I've said this so many times. Impact needs to really retain some of the people that make them Impact guys, right? Like, if you look, like, there's certain people, like Josh Alexander could have gone to AEW. Now, he stayed with Impact, and he got rewarded with the longest world championship reign in the company history, right? Like, loyalty is a big deal, especially for Impact, considering that it's easy for guys to leave Impact and go to NXT, go to AEW, whatever the case may be. You know, showing that loyalty, signing the people that really make a difference in your company, that's what's important. And it looks like Impact has done that. They both spoke about this. The deal was announced through Sports Illustrated. They learned that the terms of this were not revealed, but it showed that both sides were obviously very happy with each other's services. Shelley says that they were excited about it. They love wrestling for Impact, and there's more of a chance to work with more people in the locker room. Now, obviously, this is like a really big deal if you're an Impact fan. I'll be at Impact Wrestling Sacrifice on Friday, so if you guys will be there in Canada, let me know. That should be really cool. We'll probably do some sort of meetup or something like that if it's a possibility. With that being said, we're going to turn our attention to NXT Europe. I know a lot of people have been curious about what is going on with NXT Europe, whether or not it was being canceled or if there's plans for it or whatever the case may be. Now, Shawn Michaels is speaking out in a new interview with Daily Mail. They are still planning to relaunch the brand by the end of the year, but it does look like things got pushed back a little bit. He says that things are still in the organizational stage, and we are hoping we will have that up and running by the end of 2023. He says, I'm really learning. It isn't something that you just throw together, especially if you want to set it up for success. I think everyone would feel a bit more comfortable if it takes a little bit longer to make sure we cross every T and dot every I, but still looking forward to trying to make that a reality by the end of 2023. This is tough. This is tough, especially when you look at some of the things that Triple H and Shawn Michaels have said about NXT Europe in the past. I don't know if I'm convinced enough that this is still going to go down. To see that it's something that could be planned by the end of 2023, it is March 23, 2023. We will come back to this video. We will circle back to this video by the end of 2023, and we'll know, dead ass seriously, if it actually goes down. The problem is, I think WWE trying to plan a global expansion is very, very, very difficult to do when Vince McMahon is reportedly trying to sell the company. I just don't see how these two things can coexist with each other in the natural state of the business. Because if you look at it right now from the perspective of WWE trying to grow an NXT global brand, it is very tough to do that when you don't even know if you're going to be working in the company in 6 months. And I just feel like there's going to be, I think they kind of know that with the sale, this potentially might not happen. So, you know, they might talk about it. They might say, hey, by the end of 2023, you know, they're still trying to organize some things. I just don't see this going down. I don't. And that's unfortunate because I've been a very big supporter of the idea of NXT being global. I've had big, like, ever since WWE announced, and I think this is just so incredibly important to mention because if you go back, I have 1,000+ videos and I talk about this. But if you go back to when I first talked about NXT globalization, I always said that wrestling being global is a huge difference maker for the entire industry. People in countries that are relatively poor will be able to have opportunities to go and work in the WWE because of this. NXT Europe, NXT Latin America, NXT Asia, or NXT Japan, or whatever it may be, NXT India. The idea that people can come from different areas of life, all different incomes, all different situations, they can go into the WWE, get training, and become a WWE superstar. I just think that's a really massive thing for the industry. Even if WWE signs somebody for NXT Europe and they don't make it in WWE NXT, just by having that opportunity or that experience could get you a job with Impact, MLW, GCW, AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling. So my point that I'm making is I just think it's good for the overall industry to see WWE expand with this. I'm starting to get the impression it probably might not happen, but they say it's still going on. The only thing we could do is wait until 2023. I won't be talking about NXT Europe anymore unless there is some major developments. And when I say major developments, I'm talking about roster reveals, branding reveals, dates that are revealed, something like that. Otherwise, any interview or any discussion talking about NXT Europe, unless it has a massive focus on the future of the brand, don't expect me to give you guys updates, because right now it just sounds like this is going to be a long-term thing. Maybe they're talking about it, but who knows what's actually being done. Guys, I want to turn our attention to CM Punk. CM Punk wants to make a return to AEW. I don't know what the hell is going on here. Maybe you've seen my short video. Maybe you guys didn't, but I talked about this, especially on my AEW Dynamite review show that was live. So I talked about this. CM Punk returning to AEW is essentially this thing where I've been saying this for a while. I just think the entire thing was a work. I really do. But last night on Dynamite, if you missed it, they had this whole segment where Matt and Nick Jackson, one of the Young Bucks, I can't remember at this point, one of them was getting put in the ambulance, and they had on the side they had the production truck, and the production truck has CM Punk's face on it, but this time they cover it up. It's obvious that they were trying to hide CM Punk from the audience. And now CM Punk's on Instagram, and he's talking about this book, and basically what this whole thing on this book is these guys get in a fight, and then on top of that, they squash it the next day. And then you got Meltzer coming out, and Meltzer's like, hey, he notes that Punk wants to return to AEW after his injury. He brought up when Steve Keirn was in Memphis, he got into a fight with Coco Ware, and he said that Lawler set them down, and that was it. It appears that he was trying to say that in wrestling in the past, there's fights. That situation was completely different. So Meltzer's talking about the same thing I just mentioned with CM Punk referencing that book. He says that every situation is different and it's a decision that Tony's going to have to make, but people who are like you want him back. So here's the thing. If CM Punk is returning to AEW, just do it already. You know what I mean? I still don't think any of this was legit. I don't think the backstage fight was legit. I don't know. I think with AEW All Access, plus I mentioned it last year, AEW is trying to blur the lines of what's real and what's fake. I think a lot of this is just some BS. I don't know. It's hard when you're going over dirt sheets. Dirt sheets say a fight happened. This company is a scripted entertainment, and a backstage fight happened, and just, I don't know, all of it, the way it came out, the press conference. Now MJF's at Revolution talking about it. CM Punk returning to AEW was probably always the plan. I think now they're trying to get people to talk about it. Just like the whole thing with FTR putting their careers on the line. It's just a way to get people to talk. I don't know. It's just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below.